Hi, welcome to Retro Scale Modelling. For my next build, I'm building this Tamiya's Royal Navy Sea Harrier FRS 1. This is a simple kit, like one of the Tamiya basic kits, so not a lot of detail in it, but nonetheless, good fun building it. Now, a little bit of background on this type of aircraft. For me, not the actual aircraft. Anytime I've tried to build one of these kits, I've never got it right. I've always had a problem with it. So generally I stay well clear of them. But I've decided to give it another go. So this is the results. It's not brilliant, but I hope you enjoy the video anyway, nevertheless. It's just a bit of fun really. So let's get into the build. So to begin with, on this model, I decided to put a pilot inside, so I'm just cleaning up any little sprues and whatever. First thing I paint is the helmet, and that's in Revel 05 white. Next up is for the face, so it's a Revel 35, and again with these paints, there's not any finesse in putting onto them, and just plus them on, and I'll be touching up at the end. For the visor, I'm using Tamiya's X19 Smoke, and it's like a luminous paint, the smoke, but it's very good for darkening clear parts for windows and so forth. For the oxygen mask, I'm moving back to Revel, and it's 09 Harrier. For the main body of the pilot, it's going to be Revel Aquacolor 361, which is olive green. And lastly, for the boots, I'm using Revel Aquacolor 08 black matte. So that is it for the pilot. Just basic colours going in, nothing special really. In the cockpit itself, the chair is just a simple case of painting up, nothing to add build ways. It was made up with light grey for the main chair, with a dust grey for the frame of the chair. So that's the light grey Revel 76, and the dust grey was Revel 77. For the headrest, I used Revel 314, which is a beige colour. The side instrument panels, there's no detail whatsoever. There's no decals or nothing to put on either, and once it's in you really can't see it, so there's no point of scratch building anything. So it's just a simple case of putting it in the light grey colour and then making little dots with some Revel 08 black. For the joystick, I used for the stem Revel Aqua 90 silver, for the head Revel Aqua 09 black, and for the trigger was Revel Aqua 36 red. Now the joystick is very small and thin, so just be careful when you put it in. It does have a tendency to snap. And once all the paint's dry, just a simple matter, a little bit of glue to attach this to the seat, then a little bit more to put the pilot in. And that's the main components of the cockpit done. There is a bit of an engine to build on this kit. Not incredibly detailed, but enough to show it if you wish. You can have it all completely blocked off, which I did, but you can actually have it with the panels open to show parts of the engine. So painting it, the inside decal, I painted it in Revel Aqua 76, then the outside was painted in Revel Aqua 99 aluminium. For the blades inside the jet, those were Revel Aqua 90 silver. There's a little cross-section tie bar to fit on the engine. You don't actually put any glue in this. This will help rotate the exhaust ports when the plane is built. Back to the outer part of the engine, some of these parts are painted in Tamiya's gunmetal X10, while the main outer was painted in Relvo Aqua 99 aluminium. As I said, it depends on whether you want to show it or not, depending how much you want to paint it. If you're not going to show the engine, just paint the front part of the jet with the rotating blades. And while I'm waiting for that paint to dry, just painting the side walls of the cockpit with the Relvo Aqua 76. Again, you really can't see much detail now, so I just slapped it on. Back to the engine to fasten it up. The main thing here is make sure you don't put any glue on the tie bar. You'll see me putting in now. So what I did was just put the glue around, apart from the contact points where the tie bar goes in. And once you're happy with it, it's just a case of marrying the two parts up to fit. And next up is the jet blades and cowling. So there's little contact points where you put on here, so there's no chance of getting it on the wrong way. And once you're happy with the fit, it's just a simple case of marrying it up to the main engine. Now it's time to put the cockpit together inside the fuselage. There's two contact points, two rod-like contact points here. You rest the chair and pilot onto. Try and make sure you get these in the right position. If they're too high, your canopy won't fit. You may have noticed as well there's no heads-up display, the front instrument panel. That goes in later on. There is one, very small one. So on to putting in the engine now. Again, similar to the pilot and chair, there's two rods that the engine fits into. There is little holes that it slots in. Just make sure you get them lined up so the exhaust ports will fit later on. And it's also good to have a look at it head on to make sure you've got the front engine in between the two gaps where the air intake is on the main engine. Now that the engine's in, it's time to put the two fuselages together. Again, just marry up the contact points from the engine and cockpit before you marry up the seam lines on the actual fuselage. The fit was really good, I should add. I did put on some F-clamps, but that was just to hold it into place. I didn't have to put any main pressure areas onto the model itself. I've also learned it's a good idea to, when you're joining the two fuselages together, do it in stages. Don't try and do it all in one go. It's not a fit issue, it's a slip issue. Sometimes the two halves may slip slightly and you'll end up with a big lip that you have to sand down. So I found that to navigate out of that, just do a little bit at a time and seal it up that way. The exhaust thrust vents are next. There's two halves joined together here, and once they were all made up, I use Rebel Aquacolor 09 acrylic black. Before you attach the exhaust thrusters, there's a couple of heat plates that go on behind it, and they're painted in gunmetal X10 from Tamiya. It's time to sand off the seams, so I'm starting off with a rough grit sandpaper, then I'm going down to a medium, then down to an extra fine to polish up. Because of the method I used of sealing it up piece part by part as I went along, there was hardly any seams to take care of. Now that the heat shields are now dry, it's time to put them on, and it's a case of finding the contact point, no problems there. And once the heat panels are on, it's time to put in the thrust exhaust. Now be careful here, because there's 4 to go in, and there's 2 specifically for the front and 2 specifically for the back, so don't get them mixed up. And they go in just by pushing them in. If you don't have to use glue if you don't want to. because they fit in that little tie bar that's on the engine, and they just click in. Be a little bit tough for you. They don't go in straight away as such. You have to really push them in to get them in. But once they're in, you won't get them out, so be careful. Next is the main engine cowling. That just gone on. There's no contact areas put on, so it's just a case of sliding it in onto the kit. It's a good time if you want to paint the inside the colour that you're going to be doing your model. I didn't, but it's entirely up to you. It might be easier. Moving on to the undercarriage. Now, this is the only point of the build that had any really main concerns and issues. I think Tamiya kit designers for this assumed that you were going to do it with wheels down, but I decided to do it wheels up. So the undercarriage carriage coverings are meant to be split and put in the open position. So therefore, what I had to do was take that part, don't split it, but take off the hinges and lay it in first of all. The next part was a little bit more trickier. This part was connected to the wheel moulding, so I had to cut that off and trim it to fit into the gap that was left. It was the same with the rear wheel. Wasn't so bad with the front, but same process, taking the part going off, cutting off the hinges because they're sticking out, not down, and then getting it to fit. However, with the back wheels, it wasn't like the front. I didn't have to cut anything off the mould of the wheel. They did have their separate parts to go in, which I found strange because the front wheels didn't have that. You had to modify and take them off the wheel. So once everything's in place and dried, putting in the last part, I had a good look over it. Then I noticed, well, I was able to tell fairly straight away that there was a few gapping issues at the front. So to fill in the gaps, I'm using Fuselage plastic putty and just putting in a few dots around the area that I want filled, and then using a cocktail stitch, just spreading it over the part, pressing down firmly so it's all the gaps are filled in and covered. And lastly, just wiping any excess away with a piece of tissue and reapplying if I need to. And once all the filling was dried, it was time to put it and sand it down. It was time to put the aero fins in at the back, at the bottom even. And there's no guides or marking for these. I had to put them on by eye. As I said, there's not a lot of detail on this plane. You can scribe lines on that if you wish, but I decided not to. And then on the top of the fuselage, I put in the covering where the engine would be, so the air brake went in. I didn't have that part on camera for some reason, but you can see it. That's me just manoeuvring it into position and then gluing it up. So I'm using the capillary action of the glue to seal in place. Onto the front wings now, and these are very basic, and it's just a case of marrying the two halves up. Now's the time to decide what weapons you're going to put on. I decided for the drop fuel tanks and one of the missiles. So the drop fuel tank bottom is painted in Tamiya X2 white. The other half is a royal navy blue, but a colour which I made up, which I'll go into when we get to the main body of the plane. I'm putting them on the sprue to make it easier just to handle. Then moved on to the lower part of the rear wings, again painted in Tamiya's X2, which is going to be the main colour for the underside. Onto the wing support wheels. Now, I wasn't sure how much of these were going to be showing, so I decided to paint them all. In the end, most of the wheel parts were cut away. So the main colours were the Tamiya X2, and there was a flash of yellow, which is a Tamiya X8. Onto the main wing underside, painted in the Tamiya X2, like the other parts of the underside. Now it's a good idea to paint these now before you attach the missile and fuel tank holders. Just makes it easier to paint. You may also consider putting on the decals at this point as well, because some of the roundels do get cut in half. So to make it easier for yourself, you may want to put them on now before. I didn't, but again, it's personal choice. On the underside of the plane now, masking up for the paint. This is your normal 6mm Tamiya masking tape. So just find your line and put your tape over it. Don't worry about all the contours and bumps when you're doing this. Just stretch it over taut. Then you can just use a sharp knife to cut where it bends in and just press down. So as you can see there, I've just got the knife, cutting down the tape, then just pressing in the tape back in. Then you should get a decent enough straight line doing it that way. And once you're happy with your tape, time to put in your main colour, Tamiya X2 white for this one. This will take several coats because it is white. You can airbrush obviously or spray paint, whatever you prefer. So the painting of the undercarriage of mine takes about 4 thin layers of paint. So in the meantime, I'm moving on to other parts of the aircraft. I'm painting the mount that's going to hold the canopy, and that's getting painted in Revel 09 anthracite. Back to the weapons and the drop fuel tanks. Just simple, because once they're all dry, marrying them up together, and then touching up any paint that may be chipped off as you cut them off with sprue. For the missiles, the base colour is the O2 Tamiya white, and the black part I'm using Revel 08 matte black. So before I attach the mounts to hold the weapons, there's a couple of small decals that go on, so I'm just placing them on now. You can do it once it's all on, but it's just a little bit easier to do it now. Now that's the masking tape coming off. As you can see, the method of cutting the tape, then pressing it back in, it's worked quite well. And now the decals are dry, it's time to put in the missile and drop fuel tank brackets. Then onto the top section of the wing, painting it in the pre-mixed colour, and lastly attaching the wing support wheels. As you can see there, I've cut off most of the piston workings and so forth for the wheel. Turning attention to the main paintwork now on the body. As I said, I used my own colour for this. Now you can use Royal Navy Blue if you're painting the aircraft in the naval colours. I wasn't too sure about the colour, as a shade off for the picture I was looking at, so I decided to do my own colour. Now this is a mixture of Humbrol Dark Grey number 27, and 75% of that, and Humbrol French Blue number 14 to 25% parts in that to get the colour I made. I think it represents a better colour overall than the Royal Navy Blue, but there's only a tiny amount of difference. For the wingtip lights, I used Rebel number 61, which is emerald green, And for the opposite side, I use Rebel Aqua colour number 36, red. And now it's time to put on the weapons. Again, simple contact points here to place the cement, and the weapons just slide into the little brackets. And finally, I can put in the heads-up display into the cockpit, and that's just made up with Rebel Aqua number 9 and a small decal. You can barely see it, that's why I haven't shown you it. Onto the canopy, painting that in my own colour for the main part of the fuselage, and just a simple case of following the lines. As I said many times before, I freehand my canopy, and if I make any mistakes I just use a cocktail stick to rub away any excess paint that's gone over the line. Attaching the canopy, first of all putting in the front part, and I'm using canopy glue for this. So this is a Formula 560, and I put on quite well. I put a bead of it on, wipe away any excess. You can see there when it goes on. It does dry completely clear, which is good. It also fills in any gaps if you've got any gaps, which is really good. Now the canopy is on, I'm painting the nose cone, and that's going to be painted in Rebel Aqua colour number 9 anthracite. And now everything's dry, it's time to put on all the little aero fins and things like that go around the aircraft. Attaching the wings is just a little bit of Rebel cement on the wing root. Doesn't need much. The fit was excellent, they just slot right into place. And it's the same with the rear wings, they just slot right into place. Now there was no gaps whatsoever on the wing root, so no need for filler and things like that. That's why I left the wings to the last, and as you can see there, they fit brilliantly. And in goes the front aerial sensor mast. The tip was painted in Rebel Aqua colour 90, and the base was obviously painted in the main colour of the aircraft. And the first coat of varnish has gone on, so this is a Pledge Clear floor varnish, and just putting it all over the aircraft. So make sure your varnish is thoroughly dried. The next step is putting the decals on. The decals are a basic set, as you can see there. So what we do is we get a little bit of decal fix or any other solution that you prefer to use. Decals again softened in some water, then you just slide on into position. Now earlier on I spoke about putting the decals on before you put the brackets on for the weapons and so forth. This is the reason why, if you're not too confident about it. You have to cut these decals in half to place them on, the roundels, because they go in between the brackets for the missile. And onto the top main body decals now, same process as before. So I'm going to carry on putting these decals on, then once it's dry I'll put on a coat of varnish, and that will be the model complete. So this Tamiya kit was a really good kit for a starting kit if you haven't built any of these before. I did enjoy it, and it sort of made me recover from my apprehension of doing another Harrier. I enjoyed it so much I'm going to be doing another one next, but this one is an EDAD kit, and that's what I'm going to be doing, which is more detailed than this kit. So for now, thank you all very much for watching. There'll be a small slideshow at the end of this video, as always. Feel free to leave any comments that you wish. Why don't you check out my other videos? But for now, bye bye.